Hey everyone, I'm your host Natalie Bode. On the show today is a former NFL linebacker who earned NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year honors, has made 3 Pro Bowls, as well as earned 2 All-Pro selections. Please welcome the one and only Shawne Merriman to the show. I read that you got the name Lights Out because you knocked out 4 players in a football game. Is that true?
Yeah.
How old were you at this point?
I was 16, and you know the crazy thing about that is that was like pre-social media, right? And so when that happened, it became like a folktale in PG County, Prince George's County, Maryland, where I'm from.
It was like playing telephone.
Yeah, it was like, you know, I remember we had a Bojangles like up from our chicken place. Bojangles.
I went to UNC. I know Bojangles.
Oh, so you know, okay,
yeah.
yeah. So we had a Bojangles up from high school, and I remember standing in line at this Bojangles, and I heard people like to the corner like, "Hey, did you hear about this Shawne Merriman kid at Frederick Douglass High School at Marlboro? He like knocked out 4." He's like, "Yeah, I heard that too, but I didn't know if it was real." So they were having a conversation about it, and so it became like this myth. And it wasn't until I got to the University of Maryland my freshman year, we were playing I think Friday night or Saturday night ESPN game, first time on a national platform. We were playing Georgia Tech, and the wide receiver, Watkins, I think his last name was coming across the middle, and I just, boom, hit him, blew him up, and I got up and pointed at my forearm, which is a light switch, and lights out on it. And the crowd just went crazy. And so that was the first time that like everything that everybody's heard on the smaller level in high school, in the area, people saw for the first time like, oh my God, like this dude really go out here and like blasting people.
Like it's got to be true then.
Like got to be true, yeah.
So during that time, it had to be one of your first interviews ever. Because you're a nationally ranked recruit at this time.
Yeah.
You said something I'm going to paraphrase, something along the lines of, I like playing football because I can do whatever I want on the field and not get arrested. and that I'm guessing that really heavily played in to your persona on the field as an athlete.
Look, I was from PG County, Maryland. We didn't have any, media experience at all. And yeah, the reporter, back then they used to have the tape recorders where they pressed it and they listened to you. Now they got their phones out and they record. But then they had the tape recorders, and the reporter came. He pressed the button, the record button. He said, "Man, you play this game with such passion, and go out there, you lay it out in the line, and you play hard all the time. I mean, what made you get into football?" And I said, "Well, sir, I can do anything I want to anybody and not go to jail." And he stopped the tape recorder, and at that time, I knew I said something wrong. And he's looking at me like, there's something wrong with this kid. Like
or maybe he's thinking I got my quote.
Yeah.
We're good. We're done here.
Yeah, or this like something's really, really bad is going to go happen with this guy. I think for me, it was a mindset, less going out there like trying to and like hurt people, because it wasn't like I was going out there for big hits. If the play was on the opposite side of the field, if you look at the film, I'm running 40, 50 yards across the field, full speed, whether I was going to make the play or not, right? And so it was kind of just a mindset in general on how I approached the game.
Who initially introduced you to football?
Well, I was playing basketball first. I was a hooper, so
I saw that you were one of the top prospects in the DC area. Is that right?
Yeah. In the DMV area, and like Melo's coming out of Baltimore, and Kevin Durant was there in PG, and Michael Beasley. We all came from the same area, and so I was up there with them. The problem was I started growing this way, and they kept going here.
You're pretty tall though.
Yeah, but as a 6'4", 6'5" power forward, like you're not, but I would go and I would hoop with all the basketball guys from Maryland. So when I came in 2002, they just won the national championship with Juan Dixon and Steve Blake and those guys there, Chris Wilcox, Lonnie Baxter. I mean, they had a great team, Taj Holden. And so I would hoop with them during the offseason of rec. So they would all try to get me to come out and play basketball, and I'm like, yeah, Coach Friesian, my football coach, wasn't having it.
No way.
He wasn't having it, yeah. But at UNC, they let Julius Peppers do it. So that's why I wanted to, because I was a huge fan of Julius Peppers.
With your athleticism, though, you think you could have been really, really good at basketball? Because there's that whole argument now, and they say who would have an easier time transitioning from the NBA to the NFL, who could more easily fit in. What do you think about all that conversation?
I think it's a great conversation because a lot of basketball players are athletes, so they can get on a football field and actually move around and look like they belong. I think until you get to the physicality of it, right, we used to have guys in high school that would come out and try out for the team for the girls. Like they wanted to be on the team just to have girls, you know? And they would come and get hit one day or something would happen. And I would see kids taking their equipment off and walk in the locker room and you never see them again. Because just the physicality, and this is high school level. So you get up there to the pros and you're just talking about a different, you know, you talk about grown men with just experience and strength and speed and explosion. And so that's where I believe 99% of NBA players wouldn't survive. It's the physicality of it. Movement-wise, I think they'll get on the field. I think some guys would be great strong safeties. I think some guys would be great tight ends and great wide receivers until they get hit. And so that is what's going to change their thought process and getting on the field.
I think that's well said. And I think from the reverse, the NBA, I mean, the sheer numbers, if you look at the numbers, who actually makes it to the league, like it's a conversation that it just doesn't.
No, and look, you might have, like, I played during the offseason with Terrell Owens. You know, I played with I think Tony Gonzalez. You got a lot of football players who are actually pretty good, right? But you know, you wouldn't even be the sixth man, right, in the NBA, right. And so could you play? Possibly. You might have a couple guys that make the team. To be honest, would they get on the court and actually produce? And you know, that's up in the air. I was more like Ben Wallace, right? Like how Ben Wallace played, a lot of rebounding, a lot of defense, a lot of putbacks. You know, I can shoot, but I'm gonna get my points at the foul line. So I was gonna get 12 and nine rebounds and 6 blocks. You know,
put in the dirty work.
I was a dirty work guy.
So do you think you could have done well at Maryland if they actually let you play basketball?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Because you know, I wouldn't have started.
Right.
You know, I don't think I would have started, but I would have had a role. And you know, you got some guys out there that need to get beat up down low a little bit and get physical with. Then that would have been my place.
That would have been cool if they let you.
Yeah.
But in high school, is that kind of when you realized I'm a different type of athlete than these guys?
No. So I got into football because I kept fouling out of basketball early on.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was aggressive, and so at the end of the season, my basketball coaches, Forestville Boys and Girls Club in Prince George's County, Maryland, said, "Hey, we think we got a sport for you, like we think you'll be really good at." But I didn't watch football at the time. I was only watching really basketball. I wasn't into football.
So basketball was really your focus. Wow.
As a kid, and so they brought me on the football field. I didn't know what to do, and during practice, after they gave me my helmet, my shoulder pads, they just said, "Whoever has the football, hit him." That was it. That's all I knew. And so that was just my mentality, even from a kid. I was always that. And I got a funny story with this. So I came 4 days late to high school. My mom she missed the registration. And by the time I got there, all the equipment was gone. They didn't have any helmet, didn't have any shoulder pads. And so all the coaches for Frederick Douglass High School, they circled me up. They were pissed off because I missed the first 3 or 4 days of practice.
Right, they think you're late.
They think I'm like, I don't care,
right?
Right? So they don't know me. They already probably making assumptions of what kind of personal kid I am. And my mom just didn't know. She didn't know I missed the registration.
Honest mistake.
So all the coaches circled me up and like, you know, who do I think I am and why did I miss this? And I said, I'm 15 years old. I don't know. I'm like, my mom missed. What do you want me to say? They said, well, you know what? Fine, forget it. What position do you want to play? I said, I don't know. I just want to hit somebody. This is my exact words. My coaches, they all tell this story to all the kids come in all these years later, and they all looked. It got silent. They all looked around like they took the equipment off of another player, and they gave it to me. They was like, we gotta. If somebody gonna say that to us, we got to make sure that he has equipment.
That was like music to their ears.
Yeah.
And you weren't even trying to do that at the time.
No, I didn't even. I just, that was my mentality. Put me on the field. Let me hit somebody.
What was it like in high school with all that attention? Because you were a nationally ranked prospect.
Yeah. You know, it was kind of crazy because, so I was the first player from my high school to ever go to Division I college, ever. Wow. And, you know, when you do stuff like that, you're kind of starting a trend and groundbreaking and you don't know it. You don't know how hard, like to me, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to go D1. That was my mindset because my work ethic, my talent, I supposed to go D1, but you didn't know the doors you were opening after you. I think we had at least one Division I player from that year every year when I left.
So they just weren't giving you guys the
They
time
didn't know
and
about
attention
us.
to scout. Wow.
Nobody
Wow.
knew about us.
So you really did, not only trailblaze and be the first one, but then you shone a light on the talent that you guys have in that area. That's really cool. So I saw you were recruited by, I think, primarily Notre Dame, South Carolina, Syracuse, NC State, as well as Maryland.
Yep.
Was it a pretty easy decision for you, though, to stay home? Did you ever think about going somewhere else?
Yeah, no, not really. I committed as a junior in high school, and at the time that was like unheard of. People just
Really?
didn't.
Now that's the standard, right?
Now
That's
it's
your
I mean,
biggest
guys,
fear?
they're getting offers in sophomore year. My son is 15 years old. He just turned 15. He's going to DePaul Catholic in Jersey, and college is already reaching out to him now.
Wow.
He hasn't even stepped in the high school field yet. So the game has definitely changed when it comes. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But the game has definitely changed. And Maryland actually offered me my sophomore year after I did a 3-day camp during the summer. And they said, walking off the field after the 3 days, they said, hey, we're going to come see you in a few months and make a formal offer. But they were offering me my sophomore year.
Wow. So your son, he's a QB, right?
Yeah.
So you're having to navigate that. He's pretty highly ranked as well.
Yeah, it's number 1 in Jersey, and I think top 10 or something like that in the country, a class of 29. Yeah.
How are you thinking as a dad, all this NIL stuff? I mean, it's crazy. It's tremendous opportunity, but there's like no guardrails for anything.
Yeah, and I think I got to use that one because that's a great word. There are no guardrails. It's like the Wild Wild West right now. And what I like about it is I've always felt that the student athletes should get paid. I've always felt that
Certainly.
way. A monthly or some kind of stipend, something should have been going to them. And most certainly they should have been able to make money off of their name. Signings, appearances. They should have let them do that. And if the NCAA did that, NIL wouldn't even be around. It wouldn't even be open. But the fact is they're basically telling all these student athletes that, hey, yeah, you can't use your last name to go sign jerseys. You can't show up somewhere and somebody pay you $5,000 or $10,000. Like, well, I earned that. Why can't I go and what rule am I breaking by my performance being able to go somewhere and someone paying me for paying for my time? So I've always felt that these kids should always got paid. The problem you're having now in the NIL and stuff that's happening is it's not necessarily the player, the kid. I don't fault them. I fault these vultures and these people around them that could be leading them down the dark road. So whenever I see, something like that happens, at a 17-year-old Shawne Merriman I don't know if I would have made the right decision because you think that you have the right people around you. You're going to listen to them, whether they're your parents, whether they're your coaches, whether they're your friend, whoever that person is in your life that's giving you that advice. You're probably at 17. You're probably going to listen to them or at least take it in.
Yeah.
And that advice may not be the best in your best interest, maybe in you guys both best interests, but they're not the ones that have to deal with the consequences if something go wrong. Also, too, I was drafted at 20 years old, and so I'm still learning a lot of stuff on my own. I'm learning how to be an adult. Taxes and stuff that we never had to think about. Now you got money, so all these things just come at you very fast. You don't understand that there's people around you that just get a percentage of what you do. So something could be very good for the player, or something could be very good for the individual, but if the cut not big enough for that person, then all of a sudden it's not a good deal. And
They
so
want a bigger one.
they want a bigger one. Not thinking of what's going to happen to this kid's future because of it, or how they're going to be perceived by the team or other colleges or fans. None of that is played into it. It's like, hey, let's go get the most money. And we always hear the quote, right? All money's not good money. And look, if someone's willing to pay you $4 million, you're making $2 million now, you go get the $4 million. Regardless of what anybody says. Now, how you get that $4 million is different. You don't just not show up to practice one day and not let people know. So there's ways to go about it, but for sure, these guys should be getting paid.
It's really interesting because, to your point, the voices around you, perspective is reality. So if your perspective is influenced by all these voices that are telling you what to do, that's the type of decision you're going to make. Your son is super lucky to have you because your perspective as a former player, being able to guide him with that. I do have to ask, though, because I think it's funny, because your position, of course, your son's a QB. Did you have any influence on what he would play?
No, I think he did that despite me, to be honest. I forget what birthday it was, his 8th or 9th birthday. He was playing. He was a really good hockey player first, and he had to stop playing hockey because the seasons run into each other. And as you get older, it's less tolerated to miss practice and stuff like that. So he chose football. But he had a hockey tournament in Boston. And there was a Patriots team store, and he loved Tom Brady, right? And so he grabs me, we going by, and he's like, Dad, let's go in there. And I looked at him and said, there's no chance in hell that I'm going in that store, right? I wouldn't be caught dead in there.
Right.
You're not getting me in no Patriots store. So he looked at me, kids gonna get, they get what they want. So he asked me like 2 or 3 times. I went in there. And I took a funny photo, 'cause my head, I look like a sad puppy in there,
You're like,
walking
oh, man.
around. So yeah, he definitely did that out of spite for sure.
That's hilarious. I love it. I'm excited to see how his career develops too. But at your time in Maryland, you basically made an impact since you got on campus. You ended up being drafted 12th overall. Tell me about that time. You're a first-round pick. You know the whole time where you're going to go. Is it some smoke and mirrors of, I don't know where I'm going to be, but I think I'm 1 through 10 or right outside of it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, again, me coming out of high school, being a first Division I player at the time when I got drafted out of Maryland at 12th pick overall, I was the highest drafted player out of Maryland ever, too.
Oh, so all you did was just keep
trailblazing.
trailblazing.
It was, look, I knew I had something different about me that was around, and it wasn't more so the talent. It's just I was willing to just do more than everybody. I don't care what it was, longer sprints, more, put my body through, whatever. I was just always willing to push, and that's outside of the talent. And I think, when you get, it's different now. You hear like Shador and you hear Dion, like, oh, if they go there, we're not going to go. We don't want to go to that team.
People have preferences.
It's just, it's different, and I think that Eli Manning was probably the first one that got drafted and like, hey, I'm not going there.
It worked out.
It worked
People
out.
saw it work, so.
But again, when you're coming out, I met with 4 teams pre-draft, and so I knew I was going to go anywhere from the 3rd pick to the 15th pick. And so I was good with either one. And, leaving as a junior, coming out, your stock is high and stuff like that, I knew that when I got to the pro day and stuff like that, everybody seeing me, they were like, okay, if I was going at the 15th, I'm going at 5, I'm going at 8, So I knew that if my draft, and for people don't know out there, and I don't know if it's different now, you basically send, it's almost in a sense your resume to the NFL and scouts and everybody, they grade you, and then they give you a draft grade back. So I don't know if the process is different, but then I knew that I was going from the 3rd pick to the 15th pick, and I was good with anything in between, right? So
you weren't sweating like they get to 10, 11, you're not like, all right,
no,
I'm almost up.
I was looking. I know the Browns fans gonna kill me, but I didn't want to go to Cleveland, and not this because of the city of Cleveland. It's just they wasn't a good team.
Yeah,
and so because I was always there's some there's some great players in history that people don't talk about as much just because they played in a bad team.
Yeah, where they got drafted.
Where they got drafted
situation.
And so, you got guys like leading the league in tackles, had 120 plus sacks, but if they played in New York or if they played in a big market or a good team, then or the Cowboys, everybody would be talking about them. But they went to Cincinnati or they played, for whoever, right? Jaguars, and nobody watched them. And it's because of the smaller markets or the team just wasn't good. So I didn't want to go to certain teams for that reason. I didn't want to get lost in the shuffle. I can have 15 sacks a year and we lose and nobody cares. And that's how I kind of looked at it.
You have a good story from your draft night?
Yeah. I got invited to come to the draft. I didn't want to come to the draft because I've seen in the past guys thinking they're going to win the top 5, top 10, and end up going second round. Just something crazy. You got a camera right there in your face.
Every reaction.
That's looking like every pick that you're not picked, they coming back with that camera. And I was like, no, I don't want to play
smart. You had some foresight with that.
I don't want to play that game. So I actually I rented a really nice house back in Maryland. My friends, family, coaches, everybody came over. And so I'm watching the drafts. Mind you, back then, when I got drafted, it took forever per pick. Like the first round was like 8 hours.
Oh my gosh.
During back when I got drafted. You watch a draft, it was a all-day thing. Now, they got a time clock, it's quick.
It's TV,
it's
so
TV,
it's like, all right,
so they get it out quick. But then, one pick could take 25 or 30 minutes for one pick or more. And so I'm sitting there, and now we're at 3, Cleveland at 3, so I'm like, okay, now I'm really locked in because I can get a call from the 3rd pick to the 15th pick. And so I went 12, so imagine how long I was sitting there. And I've took visits to the Lions, the then Redskins. I went to the Cowboys, and I went to the Chargers. All those teams were in the top, in that top 15. So at 3rd pick, I'm locked in, and it's getting closer. We passed up the Redskins. They had the 9th pick, and so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So the 10th pick came up the Lions. I'm like, oh, the Lions are probably going to call because I went out. Steve Mariucci was the head coach at that time. And so my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I said, hello? It was one of my boys saying, hey, you watching the draft? I said, no way. I said, no way. What do you mean watching the draft? My name about to get called here in the next 30 minutes. I'm like, why are you calling me? I hung up. I yelled at him, screamed at him top of my lungs because I'm already nervous. I'm sweating. I got pictures from my draft, and I'm sweating, right? Through my suit jacket. He calls and asked me if am I watching the draft. I said, dude, you crazy? My name's about to get called. So yeah, I don't know if that was the last time I talked to him, but we wasn't the same.
Audacity, yeah.
We wasn't the same after that. I can tell you that.
Oh, that's funny. So the moment you get your first NFL check, what's going through your mind? You see that number on a slip.
Yeah, where to spend it? Taxes.
Really? That was the first thing you thought about?
No, I didn't think about it, but it made me think about it when the check came. And
it hit you. You're
it
like,
hit
okay,
me.
yeah.
And so you heard about taxes, but you never had taxes taken out. You don't know. And so I remember the first check I got, and it was supposed to be like $4 or $5 million or something like that, but it was whatever the taxes are after that. So I called my agent. I said, hey, when they sending the rest of it?
Like, this is one of two, right?
Yeah, I was like, so are they sending the rest of it? Is it direct deposit? How are they planning? Or do I got to go pick it up when I get there? Like, how does this work? And he basically explained to me all the tax levels of everything. And two, I'm just turned 21 years old, so
right.
you don't know everything just yet. So, yeah.
Did you have a first big purchase you let yourself splurge on?
Yeah, so LeVar Arrington was like a older brother mentor of mine. So when he got drafted by the then Redskins, now Commanders, LeVar would come to my games. I got really close with his brother because I played high school with his brother Eric Arrington, who's a really good basketball player too. So LeVar had heard about me, like this folktale of this kid that's knocking everybody out. So he started to come to the games. So LeVar would drive his G-Wagon, a black G-Wagon. He would drive his G-Wagon up on the field, literally up on the field.
Onto the field?
Not on the game field, but
right.
like next to the stands and
Front
bleachers.
center.
Yeah, not in the parking lot. He would drive it up on the field.
Wow.
And so every time I looked over, I would just see this G-Wagon. All the time, like, man, damn, that's a nice truck. I got to get me one of those, right? I got to get me one of those. So that was my first purchase. Then I bought a house in Maryland. The next car purchase I had was somebody who also I was really close with was Allen Iverson. And so when I first started going out in Washington, D.C., you would always know if AI was out because he didn't have one Rolls Royce, he had two.
Oh, so you would just see.
So he would have both of his Rolls Royces parked out wherever he was at, restaurant, club. You knew it was AI because he always had them parked right behind each other. I had one black one white one, and if I'm in a restaurant or I'm going somewhere, I'm like, damn, that's a nice car. So
you had to get that.
So
one
I had
nice.
to get the Phantom.
How'd you connect with AI?
Just being from the area and being in DC a lot, doing a ton of that was another reason why I went to Maryland. It was a opportunity, a lot of media there, right? Washington Post, Washington Times, Baltimore Sun. So you got that whole media, and I was savvy then. That was something that was on my mind then. And so yeah, we just come across each other a lot, and he was always out. So
What's something about his personality you think the public gets wrong? Because he can be a little bit of a not controversial figure, but a little polarizing.
he's just I think that AI was he was too early for what we like now. We would appreciate AI because right now, unscripted, raw honesty, bluntness is being respected. People love it because everybody's tired of the politically correct answers with everything. People are tired of it, and so I love all the smoke podcasts. Like AI would be perfect on that back in his playing days because they're so real. They're upfront, they're blunt, and say what they want, and how people really talk anyway. So I think the AI was so early that people get intimidated by what they don't know. So when he's coming into the game, he's got his cornrows and his the tattoos and the jewelry and the sack. That is how most of America is dressing anyway. They just haven't seen it in a professional athlete, and they haven't seen anybody with a mic in their face talk like a real person. Everybody's saying what they think they want to hear. So I think the AI was just such ahead of its time. But if you think about it, AI is just as popular now.
Yeah.
Right? People of generations will know AI forever because we always now, because we love real now, we love bluntness, we love people being upfront about things. If you look at IG, if you look at any kind of social media, AI is always there because he's always said something that we identify with today that we think is cool now. But at the time, it was like, oh, I can't believe he said that.
That's so true. I just saw an edit of him this morning on my TikTok. I'm going through and it's like him talking about practice, and then they just mash it together with his highlights. Speaking of your rookie year, though, let's go back. You have the highest rookie dinner bill I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
$32,000?
Yeah, that's some change.
You just get finessed, or
I did.
what happened?
I got finessed. I think it was a combination too of I didn't show up to camp.
Oh.
I was holding out. And so there was a lot of talk in the media, like who does God think he is, and everything like that. And it was really over just an injury clause. If I got hurt in practice, that I was still going to be protected or paid, right? So that's what it wasn't. It wasn't for more money. It was an injury clause. And but they were talking a lot. And so by the time I got there, it was like I walked in, I had chains on, like the lights out persona, and I talk a lot of
They were ready for you.
Yeah, I was. It's like, man, who does this kid think he is? Just walking. I just turned 21, so all the other guys looking at me like, who does this dude think he is? In my head, I'm like, well, we're gonna get pads soon. You're gonna find out. Everybody gonna find out. And I'm talking like this to people, everybody, and so because that's just that's who I was.
Yeah. You could back it up though, so it was different.
You could back it up. I wish I went about it a little bit different, than I did. But again, it's who I was at the time because from where I came from, that's your order of protection. To make sure that people know that I'm not the one you want to mess with, right? And so you kind of put on this armor and this kind of masculine thing. So looking back on it now, it was just me and how I grew up, where I came from, walking into the locker room saying that nobody's gonna mess with me, and it didn't mesh well with everybody, especially the vets who don't like that, like a young cocky kid coming in the building. So I think they took it out on me on that rookie bill. That was probably one of the biggest reasons why that happened.
But $32K, that had to be like what, bottles? That's not just food.
So at the time, first of all, outside of a car and stuff like that stuff, which costs a lot of money, you don't think $32,000 could be spent on food and alcohol anyway. You've never seen it. So
let's set a wedding or something, and we're talking hundreds of people.
Yeah, hundreds of people, and then also too, it's a one-time occasion. So you don't really think about that. But I got introduced to, and this is Antonio Gates' fault, to a bottle called Louis XIII.
Oh, that's what we give out at CPT. I know that bottle.
So at the time, I had, I've been in the clubs, had some bottle of Grey Goose and Patron, and maybe some champagne or something like that. But I've never bought a bottle of, Louis XIII. And so Gates and Jamal Williams, who's the D tackle there at the time, they ordered one bottle, and I never had it before, and I tried it, and it was so good. Like it was like I've never had anything that tastes like that, right? We went through that whole bottle in 20 minutes. So I'm looking at the waitress or the waiter. I said, hey, bring me another one.
They have some pause, or they
no,
just bring
no.
it up? Okay.
So Antonio Gates kind of tapped me and said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, it was good, man. Let's bring another one." We go through that one in like 45 minutes. So now I'm waving him down for a third, and Jamal Williams kind of grabbed my hand. It was like, "Hey, you sure?" I said, "Yeah, man. Like, what are y'all got a black card on me? What do I bring the bottle?" And so we go through all three of those. I'm seeing everybody down there eating. Drew Brees got 2 wine bottles that at the time I didn't know were $1,000 each, right?
And those are to himself.
To himself.
Oh wow.
So we had it over there. They were sharing and stuff like that. So in my head, I'm like, oh, everybody's having a good time. They like me right now because all the holding out and stuff like that. And then at the end of the night, the bill came. And so the owner of the restaurant, the Papa Moose Grill in Del Mar, he said, "Shawne, I need to see you in the back." I said, "For what?" "Bring the bill, man. I'm trying to get out of here." "No, you should come to the back." I said, "Dude, look, I had a couple drinks. I'm like, dude, I'm not, driver's outside. We trying to go out, have some fun or whatever now." He said, "Please, would you please come see me in the back?" So I got up, went in the back. They took me in the back area next to the kitchen. And when I tell you they brought me a receipt that looked like a grocery store receipt.
Oh, no.
Like one of those CVS seats to drag down. It dragged down, it hit my foot.
Oh, God.
The receipt hit my foot. And I'm going down all the way to the bottom, looking at it.
How did we get here?
I got to the bottom, and the quick glance of me, I only saw $3,000 and something. I was like, oh, this.
Like, why am I back here? I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, come on, y'all making a big. He said, and I looked at it, I said, 32. My knees, I was weak. My knees got so weak, and I put my back against the wall, and I'm sitting there with this receipt in my hand. And the bill was so bad that I'm looking through it, and I'm like arguing over stuff, like petty stuff, like little stuff on there. Like arguing over mashed. I was like, nobody in here ordered garlic mashed potatoes. I know for sure.
You're trying to get sides.
I'm trying to get everything off. I'm like, man, y'all put who ate asparagus? Seriously. The bill $32,000. Who really gives a damn at that point?
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was so bad. I'm arguing with them, and then that's the part. You ever kind of been somewhere because you're traveling, your credit card declines, right? Because you're going to different states or different countries, so you got to call in, and so I got my black card, and I'm like, I give it to them so they can charge it. It was the first time I was hoping my credit card declines. I was begging that my credit card declines. Or at least they call me and I could say, hey, blink twice if you're safe. Like one of those.
This, and you're like, no, I don't know.
I'm like, man, it's like, are you at a Papa Moose Grill in Del Mar? I'm like, no, man, I'm back home in Maryland. Somebody got my card? Like, man, they ran my card and it went through. Nobody called.
That's the one time it would go through.
Nobody called, and I was like, I was thinking about getting rid of my card. I'm like, who let somebody just run $32,000 worth of anything and not even get a call?
Claim fraudulent charges on it?
I couldn't wait because I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, if I got a little time, I can work a deal out or something.
Right. Come back the next day.
Come back the next day.
Can we do something about
can we
this?
take 10% off?
Right.
Get a couple grand, whatever. I'll come back. Just anything that was going to get the bill down, and nope, that thing went right through, and I was sick.
Have you ever heard a higher bill than yours? That was the highest bill I've ever heard of.
Dez Bryant was next. His was around 29 or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dez Bryant's was. I think I still. I mean, I'm not sure, but it's up there. I know I got the top spot.
Did you ever get to run up somebody else's bill?
No, they cut it. They cut it actually after me.
Really?
Yeah, they cut it. Now, like the first 3 rounds or something like that had to split it. Normally, it wasn't over like 10 or 12 grand. So
they don't do that at all anymore?
They do it, but it's not the same. Like they monitor that now.
So it's the Shawne Merriman rule.
Yeah, I got plenty of those.
They put that in place.
Yeah.
You had such an incredible career. When you think back on your NFL career, is there one play, one game that always sticks out to you?
Well, I'm a natural Raider hater, and everybody know that. Even though I got some boys on the team and stuff, they know I hate them twice a year. But it was a Monday Night Football game in 2006, first game of the year, and I opened up. I think I had 4 or 5 sacks, something like that, against the Raiders. And when you play on Monday night, people don't really realize, but you're the only show on. Like nobody's flipping back to multiple games. Like you are it. Everybody's sitting down because that's the only thing that's on. So when you have that big of a game against your division rivals, and the Chargers fans and Raiders fans hate each other to death, and you go and do that, my phone it took me a week and a half to respond to everybody.
Wow.
It was like 400 text messages came through. It was crazy. Emails. I mean, it was wild because I had one of the best games of my career on Monday Night Football.
Wow. Is there another one, or that's the top spot? You have a lot of highlights.
Yeah,
you got a lot.
I think for me, it's some of the ones that I look back on. The sacks and stuff, I don't care as much about as I do like the hustle plays or doing something where, so I would hear, because I have friends on other teams, and when they're watching the scouting report, they would come back and tell me, it was like, dude, in the team meeting room, our head coach stood up and watch 56 here. Watch 56. And it wasn't a sack. It was like me running. I remember playing the Cardinals, and I had a play where I ran Anquan Bolden down like 45 yards down the field. And so I had one of my boys, Antrell Rowe, who played for the Cardinals at that time. And he called me after they got out of the team meeting room, and the head coach made them watch that play like 15 times and was basically telling everybody on their defense that this is how you need to play the game, right? And so I think I appreciate that more than any sack that I got. It was more like, how much other teams focused on me. And I would have the offensive line coach for the Eagles when they had Donovan McNabb and that whole team there. He walked up to me, and I was hurt. It was in the news, in the media, that I was banged up. I wasn't 100%. And he walked over before the game when I was in my warm-ups. He said, Shawne, look, we don't know if you're 50%, 60%, 80%. We have no idea, but you're not touching Donovan McNabb today. Told me flat out. He said, I don't care who else make a play, you're not. And they made sure they put everybody on me possible. 3 people at all times. I didn't sniff Donovan that game.
Wow.
But again, I look at that now and say there's just a lot of respect there.
Yeah, especially from other coaches pointing out on film, and you hear about that from other locker rooms. Obviously, you were a star. We talked about your great career. Off the field, that comes with a lot of really cool experiences. Yeah. Is there anybody you met that you got a little starstruck from around that time?
Yeah. Well, I was with CAA my whole career. So, CAA always had the biggest private Super Bowl parties, and really close friends with Kevin Houvain, was the founding one of the partners of CAA, and Richard Lovett, and had a lot of really good relationships there. So I would always go to the very exclusive, like, post-Oscar stuff. And I think the cool thing is that everybody loves an athlete, right? It's like the universal thing. If you're a singer, if you're an actor or actress, like, everybody loves an athlete. We all love sports, in general. So I think it was a post-Oscar party in 2006 that I went to, and I just had this really, really cool 4-page spread in GQ before, and everybody was coming up to me. I mean, like, Will Smith and The Rock. I met The Rock DJ there. He came up to me, and they, just for all these big people who I was a fan of to come and walk up to me and knew who I was. Jerry Bruckheimer. I had a crush on Rosario Dawson then at the time, and she actually came up to me and said she said it was one of her favorite articles she's ever read before, because it was a really well written piece in GQ. And so at the time I'm like, Rosario Dawson,
like, she came up to me.
Yeah, she came up to me, and it was cool. I was. Everybody. I mean, Tom Cruise. I got to be around a lot of Will Smith. Got a chance to be around a lot of influential people.
I know you've talked with our producer Jack O'Hara a few times. He said you have a good Kobe Bryant story.
I got it. That was one of them. At the ESPYs, and I had 2 actually. So the one I met, met him. I was at the ESPYs, and I was walking by. So this is when they tell you to go to your seat, and they're kind of ringing the bell or flashing, like they're trying to get everybody in their seat. Right. And so I'm stuck. I'm trying to get to my seat at the ESPYs, and somebody reached out and like grabbed the back of my leg, and I'm turning around like quick, say who's grabbing me, and it was Kobe, and he was sitting with his wife Vanessa, and I turned around, and he kind of stood up, and he knew everything about me. This was after my rookie year. And
Wow.
you know, this is after.
This was early, so he really was.
Oh yeah,
he was a fan.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought that was really, really cool because he still is my favorite player of all time. So for him to know who I was, and I was still 21 at that time, so that was a cool moment.
So this is my last question for you, Shawne. I think everything you're doing is so cool now. Before we hopped on the mics, I just had to give you your flowers for what you've created for yourself after football. I think it's really cool. I think a lot of people can take a lot from it. When it comes to Lights Out, your next event is May 10th.
Yes.
How can people tune in? How can they support?
Yeah, so Lights Out Extreme Fighting is my MMA organization. We we're the most distributed, most watched regional promotion in the world. We're on a lot of great platforms. We are on my platform, Lights Out Sports TV, which is a free ad-supported all sports streaming platform. Make sure you guys download it everywhere on every smart TV, iOS and Android. Got a ton of free live sports in there. But this next event we have coming up, May 10th, we're gonna start making some announcements where we are signing a bunch of. We want to get those guys that are on the verge of going to the UFC. Mm-hmm. And then also building up the ones that could potentially get there over a 3-year period or something like that, because we plan on being around for a long time. And I love this space. I started training back in 2006 with Randy Couture and all these big name MMA guys in the mid 2000s, and I've been around the sport ever since. So make sure you guys go get your tickets if you're in the SoCal area. We'll be in Long Beach, California, lightsoutxf.com, and make sure you download Lights Out Sports TV.
Absolutely. Tune in May 10th. Shawne, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.